Good morning. Today is Monday, January 25th, 2021. What I'd like to share with you is partially based on a Dvar Torah from Rav Matisyahu Salomon. Near the beginning of our parsha, God has taken the Jews out of Egypt, and the Torah says, "Vayasev Elokim es ha'am derech Yam Suf." God guided the Jewish people toward the Red Sea, and then Vachamushim alu b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. Vachamushim means with chamushim. We'll leave that word for a moment. With chamushim, the children of Israel left Egypt. What is the word vachamushim? And what is the significance of this second part of the pasuk? Hashem took us out and led us towards Yam Suf. What else do we need to know? What is being added with this phrase, Vachamushim alu b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim? The children of Israel left Egypt with chamushim. And what's curious about this is that when we look at the commentators, the different interpretations that are given are not just wildly different, but they are even apparently contradictory in the implications that those translations convey. So Rashi says, Chamushim means armed. The Jewish people left Egypt armed or protected from enemy attack, and the Targum explains Chamushim means armed with good deeds. The Jewish people left Egypt with moral armor that protected them as they traveled through the desert. Targum Yonasan, another interpretation, says Chamushim is related to the word Chamisha, which means 5. And he says that every family left Egypt with 5 children. Vachamushim, with 5 children. All of those sound like positive attributes. And then Rashi quotes a second opinion, which has the implication of being exactly the opposite of everything we've just said before. Rashi quotes an opinion that the word Vachamushim also relates to the word Chamisha, 5, but in a very different way. Rashi says, only 1 of 5 Jews left Egypt. 4 out of 5 Jews died during Makas Choshech, the plague of darkness. So let's just think about that for a moment, because that means that 4 out of 5, 80% of the Jews in Egypt somehow did not connect with the great idea of Exodus, did not connect with the message of being part of this new Jewish people that would receive a Torah, that would receive the land of Israel, that would receive the promises God had given them. 80% of the Jewish people at the time, it did not resonate for them. And we need to ask ourselves, as honestly as we can, if we would have been in Egypt, in which group would we have found ourselves? Well, statistically, 80% decided not to leave. And yet today, it's clear to us that the 20% got it right. Sivan Rahav Meir points this out. You know, in a democracy, when you have an election, it's important to know who is the majority. And it's important to honor the decision of the majority. But life is not only about elections. There are other areas of life where not everything is dependent upon the majority. Truth is not dependent on the majority. Principle is not dependent on a majority. Often truth and principle will not attract a majority. So we have to understand that sometimes we are called upon to be a minority, to go against the majority. Sometimes it is a privilege and an obligation when it comes to truth, when it comes to principle. Not when it comes to democracy, but in other areas. And what that means is 80% of the Jews died in Egypt. And that means, depending on how you work out the numbers, as many as 8 million Jews died in Egypt. Which means that the Jewish people left Egypt a broken nation of survivors. Now that's a very different picture, a very different context for this narrative of the Jewish people leaving broken with 80% not making it. So what's going on here? How do we synthesize these different opinions about this one word, vachamushim? How can it mean so many different things and imply so many contradictions? So I want to share with you an insight of Rabbi Yosef Salant. He says as follows: if 4 out of 5 Jewish adults died in Egypt, what happened to their children? Says Rav Salant, Vachamushim means, well, they were adopted by other families of Jews who did leave Egypt. And that means that for every family of Jews that left Egypt with their own biological children, they had 4 more adopted families of children. Vachamushim alu b'nei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim. Every Jewish family left with 5 families of children, their own biological children, and 4 other adopted families of children, because Nebuch, their parents, had passed away. And this is where all of the different opinions of Vachamushim come together. Because 4 out of 5 adult Jews died in Egypt. The Jews left with 5 families of children, each adult family that survived. And that was the strength and the protection, the moral armor of the Jewish people as they went into the desert, that they had been willing to undergo this amazing chesed, this kindness of taking into their homes 4 additional families of children whose parents were no longer alive. That was a merit. That was a merit by which the Jewish people earned the miracle of the splitting of the Red Sea, earned the miracle of being supported by God throughout the desert. Because here's the truth, says Rav Yosef Salant. There is nothing as important to God as taking care of His children, especially His children in need. When you do that, you earn redemption. You earn miracles. So, a number of you, I know, have had the experience that I'm going to mention. If you have not, you're not able to do it right now, but when you are able to, I urge you to go to Israel and visit a place in the northern part of Israel named Neve Michael. Neve Michael is a children's village in Pardes Chana, a little bit south of Haifa, between Tel Aviv and Haifa. Neve Michael provides home and schooling to hundreds of Jewish children who are either orphans or who come from homes of violence, abuse, or neglect. Neve Michael is supported by Emunah Women of Canada, among many others, and I, together with some of you and many others, have had the privilege and the pleasure, the honor of being able to visit Neve Michael a number of times and to see the incredible work that they do there. Whenever I go to Neve Michael, I have two separate emotions. The first is sadness. These are children who have suffered some of the worst experiences in life. Most of us thankfully have no idea, no conception of what these children have faced. And then I see these children, they're laughing, they're running, they're acting like kids, and I am overcome with the emotion of pride at what is accomplished at this place. And they do it by practicing this Dvar Torah that I'm sharing with you. It's put into practice at Neve Michael. Neve Michael, there are no dormitories at Neve Michael. There are families. Kind, amazing, selfless, professional families. Each family raises its own children together with other children they raise together with their own, in their own home. So within their own home, there are children that are biologically theirs, and there are children that they have been given the privilege of taking care of and raising because those children do not have a home of their own. Every child at Neve Michael lives in a family that is chamushim, in the most complete sense of the word. I'll just tell you one little story. One of the women that I've had the privilege to meet, and some of you know her, is Chava Levine. Chava Levine is incredible and amazing on many, many levels. So she's the one that takes us on a tour of this place when we go to visit. And we were in one of the homes, and Chava was describing to us how it works. It was around dinner time. There were several children who live in that home, and they were standing next to our group, and they started to make noise. And the noise got louder. It was hard to hear what Chava was saying. And one of our group in the back started shushing so that she could hear what Chava was saying. And Chava said, "It's okay. That is good noise. After all the bad noise these children have experienced, when I hear good noise, nothing makes me happier." Vachamushim, armed with that level of kindness, that's how the Jewish people left Egypt. And that remains a model for us today to be able to apply in so many different areas of life. But when we look out for God's children, especially those children in need, we carry with us strength and protection. May it be true for you, and may it be true for me. My friends, have a wonderful day. And I look forward to seeing all of you soon in person.